The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news as the government continues to fine-tune plans to implement national health insurance, some are still unclear as to how this system will work. Today, members of the business community heard more about the benefits of a national health insurance program. Chairman of the NHI committee at the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, Derek Osborne, told the business leaders that he supports this approach to financing healthcare in the country. He said the Bahamas spends too much money on healthcare, and he believes NHI is a step in the right direction.
9.7%, probably 10% now of our GDP on healthcare. By any standard, that is very, very, very high. Only the US, as our neighbor, probably nobody in Europe spends that kind of cost on healthcare. And the problem is we don't get the results in the Bahamas that justifies us spending 10% of our GDP on healthcare. Most of the metrics that we use to measure healthcare performance are not that good in the Bahamas relative to our Caribbean neighbors. Okay, we're not living as long. We have higher birth mortality rates. We have higher cancer rates and other metrics used to measure the outcomes of health.
Osborne says that there are several reasons why we should all be concerned about national health insurance and the quality of health care we get here in the Bahamas.
We have higher cancer rates and other metrics used to measure the outcomes of health. At the end of the day, I think we all want a healthy population. People living longer, less absenteeism. Absenteeism doesn't only affect you because your employee is sick. My baby's sick. My mummy's sick. I'm sure you hear those stories every single week. Right? In Grand Bahama? My baby's sick, right? So I can't come to work today. Okay? And then the sad story is that sometimes you go to the public clinic at 6 in the morning, hoping to get served first, and the doctor doesn't show till 10 o'clock. Easy. All right? And so you spend the whole day waiting at the clinic, sometimes not even been served, having to go back tomorrow.
Now, Osborne was speaking at the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce's monthly luncheon meeting at the Pelican Bay Resort. Also from the health sector, Bright Journey launched yesterday. It is a partnership with medical professionals from China that will provide eye surgeries for patients in the northern Bahamas. Minister for Grand Bahama, Dr. Michael Darville, commending the partnership and says many Bahamians stand to benefit from this mission of love.
Our local team here in the ophthalmology department has been doing an excellent job. I want to thank Dr. Guerrero for his return, Dr. Ash, and the entire team. But we all know that there is some element of backlog in terms of cataract surgeries and repairs on the island of Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and the northern region. So this intervention is not only timely, but it also helps our local team to deal with the necessary backlog that exists in the northern region.
Now, also during that ceremony held at the Grand Lucayan Resort, Dr. Darville assured healthcare workers that the government is taking steps to improve the overall healthcare system on this island.
Just Friday, we had a very dynamic team, a group from Gisa World, a consultancy group who is guiding the Ministry of Health and the PHA on the way forward for the construction of a new state-of-the-art hospital and the upgrade and the recommission of the Rand Memorial Hospital. So these are great things that are happening in Grand Bahama, and so I want the community to know that the Ministry of Health, the PHA, and the government is working very diligently to improve the quality of health care that we provide here on the island.
In news from the crime beat, Jonestown resident 28-year-old Samiko Rigby arraigned before Magistrate Rangan Johnson today on 2 counts of armed robbery. The charges relate to 2 incidents that occurred recently in the Freeport area. Rigby was not required to enter a plea as the charge is an indictable offense, and a preliminary inquiry will be held on the October 7th. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correctional Service. Until that time, he was represented by attorney Simeon Brown. Meantime, police have 2 Grand Bahama men in custody for the possession of dangerous drugs. Police tell us that the officers of the Lakaya Division executed a search warrant on an apartment in the Waterfall Drive area yesterday and discovered a big plastic bag containing a quantity of marijuana along with drug paraphernalia and cash. A 27-year-old male who resides in the area was arrested and taken into custody. Meantime, a 22-year-old man was arrested and taken into custody in the West Grand Bahama District. Yesterday, a team of drug enforcement officers executed a search warrant at a house in Russelltown, 8 Mile Rock, where they reportedly discovered a quantity of marijuana. Both men are expected to be charged for possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. And law enforcement officers in the Western District recommitting to the fight against crime. Officers assembled at the Church of God of Prophecy in Pinedale this past Sunday for a time of worship and to seek God's guidance as they continue to combat the criminal element. Natalia Hall has the story.
Officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force and other law enforcement officials pausing for a time of praise and worship at a special service at the Church of God of Prophecy in Pinedale, 8 Mile Rock. Senior pastor of the church, Pastor Cleophas Capron, welcoming the law enforcement officers, telling them that the country is facing some troubling times and they all should cast their cares on God.
I encourage you to, when all other avenue has failed and everything else seems to have come to an end, which is not a good thing to do. The song that says, after you have tried everything, try Jesus. I prefer you trying him first. You know, don't wait for the last. Don't wait for the end. But if you find yourself in that position, try Jesus. He never fails. He never fails.
Officer in charge of Grand Bahama, Senior Assistant Commissioner of Police Emrick Seymour, telling the congregation that officers are committed to the task and will ensure the public remains safe.
As I stand before you and as I lead this group of officers, the vast majority of police officers whom I have the pleasure of leading and who, throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, I would say, are upright, officers of integrity, with credibility and integrity. And you want to really know what integrity means? Doing the right thing when no one is looking.
Magistrate Gwendolyn Claude, attached to the 8 Mile Rock Magistrate Court, was also in attendance.
I say that I come here so that you do not come where I am. And the Assistant Commissioner has spoken. I greet you in the name of Jesus.
ACP Seymour made a presentation to the senior pastor on behalf of law enforcement officers in the Northern Bahamas. Prayers were then lifted for members of the police force who are on the front line in the war against crime. Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, continues right after this.
Bringing news that matters to you. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Welcome back. A local church is staging its 5th annual business symposium. The workshop, set to get underway tomorrow, is a part of the church's business network, and it aims to help entrepreneurs throughout the community. Coordinators say the church is committed to changing lives and enhancing the community. They note that there will be a variety of topics discussed, such as networking, embracing the new marketplace, and fueling business opportunities.
We have a great lineup of speakers, and this event promises to be one that will be very informative as well as very inspirational, and we want to encourage all those persons who are in business or persons who may be thinking of starting a business to come out and hear what these gentlemen have to say.
The event will feature Mr. Leon Williams, CEO of BTC, Mr. Kevin Seymour, President of the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. Atario Mitchell, the President of Bahamas Striping and Caribbean Pavement Solutions.
Now, that business symposium will be held tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Freeport Bible Church. And a student of the Bishop Michael Eldon School has established a unique business of his own. His talent has left many in awe as he's making quite an impression in the field of engineering. He is a 16-year-old student at Bishop Michael Eldon School and is already making waves in the engineering community. 11th grader Ambrose Cartwright builds drones from scratch, attaches a camera to each tricopter and quadcopter, which are specifically made to order. The drones also come with a special headpiece that provides an amazing visual, a visual that gives users the feel as if they were actually inside the makeshift craft. Cartwright takes us back to where it all began.
There's a picture that my mother has with me sleeping in the carrier, and I just had my hand under my chin like I was thinking. I was always curious at my young age. Then fast forward a few years after I started swimming, I noticed that there was this drone flying over the pool while I was at the national swim competition in Nassau, and I just got interested into it. So during that year, I was in grade 9 at that time, and I decided that maybe I should do this for the science fair that's coming up.
Ambrose did win first place in the competition, and it would be the beginning of greater things to come. Just 2 years later, he has mastered the craft of building drones, created his own company, and has given his clients what he regards as a top product. That is just as good as any other drone purchased from anywhere in the world. He says this achievement came with much trial and error.
At one point, I had a red wire where a black wire was supposed to be, and I nearly blew up the whole copter. So when I'm making it and testing it and things like that, I have to make sure that I'm on point every single time, or that if I'm off at any point in time, that could cause serious problems for me or whoever is buying my product. My company's slogan is that I will make your drones your way. So the drones that I make are never going to be bought from one place and I'll just put it together and give it into your hand. I order every specific piece, put it together, check it, and make sure that it flies to your specifications.
Cartwright boasts that these drones, depending on the model requested, can have a range of anywhere from 1 mile up to 10 miles away.
One thing I always noticed when people get pre-built copters is that there's always problems with it. If something goes wrong, they always send it back or they buy a new one, which I personally don't like, because I've had a few pre-built copters and I just hate it when they would go bad and I can't get anything else out of them. So if you were to get one of these from myself, if anything goes wrong, I'll be able to put it back together in one piece to make sure it flies back to your specifications like I had it first.
If you are interested in any one of Ambrose's signature pieces, it can cost anywhere from $150 to $450. He says the guarantee of having the drones made right here at home is what keeps his customers coming back. Now, for further information, you can contact him at 533-4745 or find him on Facebook. Just search for Ambrose Cartwright. Well, our next story is about some visitors that you wouldn't want back in your home, sort of like some of our co-workers. We're talking about the pharaoh that's commonly called the sugar ant. Pest control experts say they have become a bit of a nuisance for many of Grand Bahamians, and tonight they have a few tips on how you can get rid of the problem once and for all. Sabrina Brown has the details.
It is a tropical ant that has a painful sting. The fire ant, also called red stinging ant.
The reason they call fire ants, interestingly, is because when they bite with such intensity that it feels like you're being burned with fire, and so they call fire ants. But also they use a particular mechanism in that the first fire ant will not bite you. So he'll wait until a number of them get on you, maybe 10, 15, and then they all bite you together.
Operations manager at Budget Pest Control, Hugh Ferguson, says the fire ant can pose a danger to many people, including small children and pets.
When they bite you, they inject a toxin, and many persons are allergic to it, to the protein in the toxin, and so they have that severe reaction, and that poses significant health issues and so forth.
The exterminator says you should pay close attention to the environment outside of your house because the problem usually starts there. If you want to keep fire ants and other creepy crawly insects out of your home, Ferguson is advising that you treat the perimeter of your structure around windows and doors.
You can also keep shrubberies, keep the grass away from your foundation, at least 18 inches away from the foundation. You put gravel around that area, and that keeps away a lot of the occasional invaders such as centipedes, snakes, and all that kind of stuff, because they don't like the gravel. They don't like the sensation of having to work that much harder through it. Yeah, and so that's a good natural barrier that you can put. Oftentimes people have grass right up to the foundation. They've got, trees and plants right next to the foundation. That's a no-no because it defeats the purpose of you spraying, since the insects pretty much crawl up the plants and then get back onto the structure.
In other news, the Grand Bahama Medical and Dental Association set to host the 15th annual conference beginning this Thursday, September 24th at the Pelican Bay Hotel. A number of local and international medical professionals are expected to make presentations during the two-day period. President of the association, Dr. Eric Brown.
Our topic this year is healthcare in Grand Bahama, expanding our horizon. And as we are aware that this has been a really rough time for us in Grand Bahama, so we are definitely looking to our horizons for new hope in Grand Bahama. But our health team this year, which is made up of national, international, and local speakers, this year we are about to give you another good and very provocative time in this our year's conference.
Now, the conference will include a bit of fun. A boat cruise will be held on Friday evening, and a grand gala banquet is set for Saturday to honor two outstanding medical professionals, Dr. Alfred Brathwaite and Dr. Marilena Leger. And now it's time to ask the doctor.
Hi, and welcome to Ask the Doctor. I'm Dr. Monique Pratt. Dawn asks, Dr. Pratt, I know that little children normally suffer from ear infections, but I'm a grown man in my 30s who suffers from painful ear infections 2 or 3 times a year. What is going on? Dawn, thanks for your question, and I can sense that you are indeed frustrated. What you're describing could be what we call otitis externa, or swimmer's ear. It's an infection in the outer ear canal, which runs from the eardrum to the outside of the head. It's often brought on by water that remains in your ear after swimming, washing your hair, or showering, creating a moist environment that aids bacterial growth. The most common cause of this infection is bacteria invading the skin inside your ear canal. Usually you can treat swimmer's ear with ear drops. Prompt treatment can help prevent complications and more serious infections. The symptoms are usually mild at first, but they may get worse if your infection is not treated or if it spreads. If you leave the infection untreated, it can potentially cause some serious complications such as an abscess, which is a collection of pus which can form in or around the affected ear. So please visit your doctor when you begin to notice an ear infection, because the earlier you seek treatment, the easier the infection is to resolve. I'm Dr. Monique Pratt, and this has been Ask the Doctor.
Stay with us, Ricardo Liborn has a check on sports when we return.
Hey everybody, it's Sports Time. I'm Ricardo Liborn. This one goes tonight to my good friend Bushy. You see, Stan and Philip actually put him on blast last night. Bushy, it is the clothesline. No, it's the internet when you want to go online, okay? Got a new phone. Executives of the Rising Star Youth Baseball Program is operating outside of the box. Megan Shepard says they've got some plans to record sports history locally.
The Rising Stars Youth Baseball and Softball Development League preparing to help record the history of baseball and softball on the island. President Yvonne Lockhart says that the young people today are unaware of those pioneers that have paved the way in sports, and the organization is aiming to create a more concrete record.
Our research has discovered that among those pioneers were for baseball Neville Cartwright, Lawrence McIntosh, Bernard Arana, Sam Baston, and Bob Fox, among others. As for softball, together with Arana were Adelaide Lavardi Pinder, Lula May Walker Farquharson, and Leona Roach, among others.
Chairman of the Grand Bahama Sports Hall of Fame, Harold Williams, is applauding Lockhart and her team for taking this initiative. He says this is a great start to creating complete and comprehensive records of the achievements of these pioneering athletes.
Programs and initiatives such as this is so important, and what we're doing with the Grand Bahama Sports Hall of Fame is also important because it forces us to go and research and look at the history of these great men and women and what they contributed to sports.
Lockhart is inviting any sports enthusiasts, fans, or players to contribute photographs, early statistics, or clippings that will aid in the development of this special project. Megan Shepard, ZNS Total Sports.
And girls on court, as with Oriole Knowles High School Volleyball League. Sunland Junior Girls defeating Sister Mary Patricia Russell 21-15, 21-7. Bishop Michael Eldon got by Igmar Rock 21-19, 19-21, and 15-10. Tabernacle served by Jack Haywood Jr. 21-15, 24-22. In the senior girls side of things, Sunland over St. George's 21-11, 19-21, and 15-8. BMES getting by Igmar Rock 21-14, 18-21, and 15-8. Tabernacle over Jack Haywood 21-19 and 21-10. The boys play today. Give you those scores tomorrow. Everybody had a good time. And to my good friend Bushy, got yourself a new phone, man, a smartphone. You just got to be smart to operate it, okay? Gotta go. That's a look at sports.